things are moving quite fast in Russia, so I thought I'd do myself a little video. I'll just move over there in case any comments come up. So very last minute here, so I'll wait till. Actually, we've got some people online. If you get a notification, that'd be great. So yeah, talk a little bit about the gig last night. All the gigs, Foo Fighters were really good. They only played for an hour, really thumped it out, did as many songs as they could. The Arctic Monkeys, a little bit boring, a little bit. And so the end of Churches, maybe got 2 songs from Churches, which is nice. Went to see the Pale Waves, well worth watching. Oh, there we go, we've got some people in the chat. Hello everyone, we've got Chuck James in there, we've got Cathal. Morning all, I hope you're having a great time. Yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. Good morning, Greg. Hello to Madak. So, what the hell is going on in Russia? Well, the leader of the Wagner military group, which for years people said didn't exist, or the Russians said didn't exist. They only admitted that it existed halfway through last year. The leader of that is a guy called Prigozhin, and he's a monster. He's an absolute psychopath. He's a raging psychopathic monster who murders people with impunity because he has a private military at his disposal. And today he's been ordered to be arrested by the powers that be in Russia, and he's taken over a place, a city called Rostov on Don, which is quite a major city, and the mercenary group that he heads up has taken it over. And they said they're going to march on Moscow, and he just said that there's 25,000 of them ready to die. Now, he's not actually said that he's going to fight Putin. He's not trying to topple the government. He's saying he wants to take over the army, and that the people in the army are responsible for all the bad things that have happened in Ukraine, and the whole invasion of Ukraine. Apparently now, because the Russian propaganda machine was always saying, oh, it's definitely the Ukrainians' fault that we had to invade. We had to, It's like when you get, you're getting beaten up by your older brother, and he gets your hand and he makes you punch yourself. He's like, why are you punching yourself? Why are you punching? Yeah, it's a bit like that. That foil on that tent behind me is very rustly. Anyway, I hope you can still hear me. Morning, Dave and Ben and Peter and Jupp. Ride of the Valkyrie is going on in Russia, indeed. Johnny Copperhead. Nazi Dobby is scared of his monster. Yeah, Prigozhin is an absolute monster, and Nazi Dobby, who is Putin, is a bit worried because this has been in the pipeline for a long time. Like Prigozhin was on, I mean, even last year he was going on social media on the Telegram and criticizing quite openly, criticizing the government. The army. Sorry, not the government. The army. Some people in the government, whatever. But it looks like there's a full-on coup going on civil war between 2 forces. This mercenary group of criminals, mostly people dragged out of jail, so murderers and rapists who are now been taken out and put on the front line as cannon fodder for their stupid war in Ukraine. And I think this is a really good example of effing around and finding out. Have a fantastic time, something to enjoy in the mire of the judge running the country. It's been beautiful weather the last couple of days, actually. And it's quite nice today. It's a little bit overcast, but we need that because the sun was quite intense yesterday, I have to say. So the lightning seeds as well, which is always good. Changed a few of the lyrics to refer to Liverpool more. Also, someone pointed out, in the song 3 Lines, they sing 30 years of pain. He's now singing all those years of pain because it's nearly 60. It's nearly 60 years since the men's team have won a major international trophy. There you go. Lukashenko apparently also fled Belarus. What? Christian, I didn't see that this morning. So Lukashenko's gone. That is phenomenal. Jupp said, sadly, it seems the opposite of Operation Valkyrie. Instead of the military taking control, a mercenaries trying to take over the military. Lol. Well, if they want to take each other out, then who are we to stop them, really? When is Boris going to be investigated for being a Russian spy? Ask Kieran. That is a good question. I think there needs to be an investigation onto how there was a murder committed on British soil by Russian operatives of a British citizen, and Boris Johnson was nowhere to be seen, and he disappeared off to a bunga bunga party directly from a NATO summit with other people in NATO, other representatives from other countries that are part of NATO. And he went straight from there with his secret documents to a party that was being held by the son of a KGB agent, who is Lebedev's dad is actually personally sanctioned by Canada and perhaps other countries as well. And Boris Johnson was there. No, he should be investigated. I don't think it's enough just to be able to say, "Oh, it's okay. We can call him a liar now in Parliament. Hurrah!" We need to have proper investigations into his connections and the Tory party's connections with Russia, Russian funders. They keep going on now, which I think is a massive own goal for that dickhead Rishi Sunak. He keeps going on about how Labour's funded, right? He keeps going, "Oh, you're funded by Just Stop Oil," which doesn't work that way. It's like someone funds Just Stop Oil, but they also fund the Tory party. And by him going on about it, he gave another million to bloody just Stop Oil, so that backfired. But yeah, the people who are funding the Tory party are also funding the invasion of Ukraine and all of the horrific war crimes that have gone on at the same time. So it's like, hang on, you're complaining about someone funding two things at once, and one of them you disagree with, right? You're getting funded by people who are actively funding the war in Ukraine. Blowjo has no parliamentary privilege now, must get US involved if they don't want traitors in the UK Tory party. We have nothing to do with it this time. Germany, yeah, that's a job. Yeah. Didn't we have all this in 1917? Well, we had it twice in 1917. Don't forget, the first revolution was earlier in the year, which was actually a democratic takeover of the government from the aristocracy, from the monarchy, from Nicholas II, wasn't it? His family. And unfortunately, that fledgling democracy is what was taken over by the Reds in October of that year. I think it was actually November, but they used the Julian calendar, so it was a bit different back then. But yeah, the October Revolution was taking out the fledgling democratic institutions and replacing them with communism. But it wasn't really communism because, it didn't work like what people thought communism should work like. It's all a bit like Brexit. If only you'd done it properly, it would be fine by now. Anyway, so 7 years ago today, I was waking up in the campervan fields with an epic hangover and checking my phone and making sure that, yes, this is real, and we have decided to vote to leave the European Union, the stupidest thing any country has ever done. I mean, what Russia's done, pretty stupid going into Ukraine, but their economy's still doing better than ours. That's how stupid Brexit is. I mean, come on. How's the sleep and sanitation situation? That's from Samuel. Sleep? I can sleep anywhere. It's my crap mutant superpower. Like if I was in the X-Men and Storm would fly into the air and Magneto would be like, ah, and get all the metal stuff, and Dr. X would be like, ah, and he'll be going into people's minds, and Wolverine being picking out his claws and going, ah, and I'll just fall asleep. And they'd be like, what's your secret power? And I'm like, I just fall asleep anywhere. That's my power. That's my crap power. How many pieces will Russia be split up into, and who will own what? Well, I mean, the idea that Russia splitting up, although yay, it would also come with it just years and years, decades probably of pain and suffering. So I don't really want that to happen. Would like them to get out of Ukraine though. The problem with the Democrats in Russia is that they tried to fight on instead of a separate deal with Imperial Germany. Yeah. Hello everyone. That's from Tim, and Kieran says UK will be welcome back probably after political reform. Yeah, we're working there. Vendetta says camp man. I am camping. You camp, man. So yeah. So what do you think? What do you think? There's this. This is going to dominate the headlines now for the next few days, I think. And it's going down like quite. It's quite scary. I mean, the destabilization of Russia is something that we've kind of thought that'd be great. Get rid of Putin, but what if he gets replaced by Prigozhin? Who's just, I mean, Putin's a psychopath, but He plays his cards close to his chest, whereas Prigozhin's like, I just love killing people. I just love killing. He's a terrifying, terrifying man. I slept on a windowsill at. Thank you. I slept at a windowsill at Imperial College once. Mm, that's quite fun. Lol. Uh, Canadian here. Go for Canadian. Thank you for paying the fix that will emerge. Mm. Do you ever get tent envy at Glasgow now? I've camped in all kinds of stuff in Glasgow. Obviously, tents, fine, little two-person tent like this one. Big, 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 massive tents. I stayed in the TP field once. One of my, well, a person I knew someone who actually t- bought a TP, which is just basically a big tent. You just still sleep on the floor. There's a rug, but yeah, it's and it gets really, really hot in the morning, so you've got to get up quite early. One of the things about Glastonbury, if you stay out raving till like 4 in the morning, you don't get any sleep at all because by about 8 o'clock it's just too hot to stay in a tent. Majority want to rejoin EU. Why don't Liberal Democrats make that their policy again? Because they don't want to fight the next election on Brexit. That's it. They just don't want to. They just don't want to go back there because it's the only thing that the Tories are strong on now. The Tories have done terrible damage to the NHS. They've done terrible damage to the economy. They've done terrible damage to our standing in the world. Everything. The only thing where they actually seem to get their voter base motivated is Brexit. Their shiny bauble that if it's taken away, a lot of their voters will have a little bit of a paddy fit. They'll spit the dummy out the pram. Going to be a right Putin punch up. Yeah, who will win? Finish him. Hopefully, the headbangers in Russia will duke it out amongst themselves, and some plucky Democrats will be able to take it back. Not naive to ensure Democratic doesn't become autocrat. So I'm really interested if someone else can find out some information about the situation in Belarus, because if Lukashenko is gone, that's major. That could be time for a regime change. Thank you very much. But he only has one tank. He has got one tank. Vladimir one tank Putin. So he used to have these big mad military parades with like thousands of tanks like going through Red Square in Moscow, and they had one this year. There's only one tank, and it was from a museum. I slept through an earthquake once. That's from Madak. Hopefully, well, the thing is with an earthquake, if you wake up, by the time you've realised what's going on, the earthquake stops. Still terrifying though. Hopefully, it won't be such black and white return to the EU. Maybe we'll slowly reintroduce some of the benefits we once enjoyed until we have a roughly similar situation. That's the optimist in me. Yeah, I hope so. The migraine just makes the fire burn hotter. Okay. Capitalism creates autocrats, always. Yeah. Well, unbridled capitalism, which is one of the big problems we've got in society at the moment. We've got these mad billionaires who have just profiteered like crazy from, first of all, COVID, and then well, Brexit actually. A lot of very rich people made a lot of money out of Brexit. Most of us are now poorer because of it. COVID, same thing. Billionaires made they doubled their money in COVID. And now we've got this war in Ukraine, which the oil companies and the energy companies are using to profiteer from all of us paying ridiculously high energy bills. Plan says, I see GBBs are spouting bollocks that 72% of those who voted to leave would do so again without realising that means rejoin would win hands down. Well, yeah, they've got to spin it, don't they? And we need to stop calling these people who work for the government and on journalists, friendly client journalists, call them what they are, the spin doctors. That's what we used to call them 20 years ago. Alistair Campbell, he's a spin doctor. His job is to make a bad news story sound good. And we've stopped that now. We're talking about communications. They're not doing that. GB News, the Enoch's channel, indeed. So I met a few people I know at the festival yesterday. Came over because I got a massive flag that says F the Tories. And so, yeah, it was good. We watched the Arctic Monkeys with Supertansky, which was fun. And then, yeah, we bumped into Jonathan Reynolds, MP, who's here, who I actually got into Glastonbury 23 years ago when Bowie played. I drove him down from Manchester because we went to university together. And he's here. He's here with his wife. His wife wants to see Kelly, so he's here. Obviously, he's probably got like a 5-star tent or something, but... Yeah, we don't go in for that kind of cushy number. We're just slumming it. Call another Brexit vote on Brexit then if they're so confident. That's a very good point, Duke Vengeance. That's what I'm hoping they're planning is phrases like make Brexit work that concern me. Yeah, it's just to not upset the people for whom Brexit is their one and true love in their life. It's not their partner, it's not their children, it's definitely not their grandchildren. It's Brexit. It's the one time in their life they put an X on a piece of paper, and it made something happen, and it owned the libs. And there was a really weird article yesterday in the Telegraph, and it was about how in the future Brexit's going to be the left wing position, and that the right wing position is going to be to go back into the EU. That's very strange. And he's like, yeah, these political flips they happen, and then everyone pretends that it was always like that. I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen, mate. And he's like, because the left will associate more with the US, and instead of the EU, and I'm like, what, you mean the US where they just banned abortion? The US where they're banning transgender people from using the bathroom, where they're killing people for being drag queens? Oh yeah, okay, right, if you say so. Come on, call one coward indeed. Um, make Brexit work equals water Brexit down. It did. It's there and confident indeed. Um, let's have a look. Rock on and enjoy the music. Ben Habib, lying sack. He is a bit like that. We've also got question time was saddening and awful. They need to avoid the Tory trips now. Look at Labour. They're fixated on Brexit and taking us back. Most of us want work on pre-join on the quiet. Yeah, that's where I am at the moment. Um, the problem with regulated and unregulated capitalism debate, corporations have an incentive to deregulate the system, and they have the money to buy deregulation. Yeah, and that's why deregulation needs to be fought against with every sinew. It's not freedom for us. It's not helping us at all. It's helping the corporations that want to fill our rivers full of shit. Yeah. Anyway, as an EU citizen, a plan to rejoin is not in your party's gift to give. Well, Leaf Huntress, I mean, closer ties with the EU is something that we want and something that the EU wants. They don't want an economic, uh, well, I won't say it's not much competition, but we are still quite a big economic power on the doorstep, undercutting the EU by bringing in dodgy, unregulated crap that's been made halfway across the world, and then, using Northern Ireland or something as a back door to get that stuff into the single market. There were 27 vetoes. Um, you get a bit ahead of yourself there. We can get a better deal with the EU before we rejoin. Once we're part of the single market and the customs union again, or some form of the single market and the customs union, there will then be the debate about um, how we would rejoin eventually. But it will take time, and everyone that I've spoken to who EU representatives about this, they've said, yeah, when you're ready, let's discuss. They're open to discussion. Michel Barnier said that himself a couple of weeks ago. He said the door is open, and the EU is nothing if not pragmatic. So if it's in their interest to have Britain back in some form or another, it will. It's not ideological like the Tories or the Brexiteers. 10 years ago, richest 300 people had more wealth than the poorest 3 billion. Can you imagine what that must be now? Yeah, it's probably the richest 3 people have more. Not to dampen anyone's mood. Roof woman or benefits boy, cast your votes. Can't spell with a migraine, so why bother worrying about it? Indeed. I'm sorry you got a migraine, mate. My mum suffers from migraines. It's not fun. Scoopnum says, so I'll go to Soho and let the Tories smell underneath my kilt. Excuse me. Um, England will be welcome back, says Kieran. Hopefully there'll be a point where Brexit is distinguishable from being in the EU. From Lucy. Jumped the fence at Glasgow many years ago, got into a massive fight with Scousers dressed as security going around on the road. Nightmare that night. Was that 2000? Can't jump the fence these days. You could in 2000. It was horrific. Everything got robbed. Literally everything got robbed. I felt like quite smug because my tent never got robbed. And I got back to my car, and my car had been like broken into, and everything out of my car had been robbed. And I'd hidden my my wallet underneath the tire, in the back seat, in the back. How about a UBI's cheer everyone up? Yes, please. Universal basic income, bring it in. But until that happens, super chats are open, by the way. um, hi, all, says David. Why only England, says my dad. Yeah, UK. I mean, it might be England and Wales by the time we get back in, but the way that the SNP have been going the last couple of the last few months, I don't know how long it's going to take Scotland to get independence now, because they were the real driving force behind it, and they're looking at electoral collapse in the next election, especially in Westminster. No, I didn't mean Labour plan to do things on the quiet. I mean that people want another Brexit pre-join vote now, or that the parties put it in the manifesto. Yeah, it's unrealistic. I agree. I agree. Scotland hoping to get independence. Yeah. I hope so. I hope so. Um, Agreed to David Dack. So yeah, things are moving pretty quick in Russia. I'm just going to babble on for another 10 minutes because I've got to go and charge my phone. My phone's going to run out of batteries at some point. James says, I wonder if the UK joins the EU, including Schengen, would there be border controls between Northern Ireland and the ROI for non-British and non-Irish citizens only? Um, that would be quite weird. If Britain did join Schengen, Ireland would join Schengen as well. I'm pretty sure of it. At the same time, don't forget Ireland and Britain went into the EU together in 1973. Thank you very much, One Angry Pagan. What news for today? Well, Russia seems to be going to civil war, which is what happens when you go and invade your neighbour for no reason, with like no provocation whatsoever. Yeah, you f around and you find out. The invasion of Ukraine has been an absolute cluster F for the Russian army and Russian top brass. Pretty, it's been pretty rubbish. Um, I think SNP's independence quest is past its peak. They'll lose a lot of seats to Labour at the next election. That's some call. Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And that's, I feel like Scotland deserves independence after what they've gone through with getting pulled out of the EU against their will. But yeah, the other parties, Labour, the Lib Dems, the Conservatives, they're all unionist parties. They don't want to split it off. I learned that at school. Ukraine's job will be much easier then. Yeah, I mean, hopefully with the Russian army fighting the Russian mercenaries in Russia, then they'll be able to make a breakthrough in their offensive, which has been people are talking about the spring offensive for ages. It's now summer, and I think the Ukrainians are just taking it easy. There's no point in just throwing good people in and losing what losing the resources that they've been given from other countries just to try and get this thing over quickly. This is going to be a long protracted conflict unless Russia falls apart. Then all those troops are going to have to move back to Russia, aren't they, where they belong? Ireland is only out of Schengen, so that common UK-Ireland trade area could be maintained. Yeah, John, I agree with that. What are the Tories going to do when Ukraine joins the EU? They're going to do nothing. They're going to say, "Oh, the EU's awful," like what they always do, and we're best trading with people in Papua New Guinea and Brunei for some reason. Getting trade deals with Zimbabwe. Great. What have we got to sell people in Zimbabwe? Nothing. Oh yeah, but we can buy things cheaper from them. Yeah, but that's not how to run a business, not how to run a country. Just buy things. Got a great idea. Imagine going. I'm a Glastonbury, David. Imagine you go into the bank and go, I've got a great idea for a business. Oh, what's the great idea? Well, I was thinking that I could just buy some stuff cheap. A mate of mine can get it off the back of a lorry. It's dead cheap. What are you going to do with the stuff once you've bought it? Nothing. You're going to resell it? No, just nothing. Nothing. Indeed, John, CTA is older than Schengen. Do they sell spears? Says Vendetta. Has Labour said anything about building back up our military? Tories have left us in a really weak position. Don't know. It's something that I guess the Tories know they can get away with, because although these people who vote Tory are usually quite obsessed with Spitfires and the Second World War, when it comes to actually supporting our armed forces, they don't seem to care much. about them. That's been my experience, especially with veterans, people who have been, been in conflict zones in Iraq and Afghanistan, and now living on the streets, and they don't seem to care. They just don't seem to care, which kind of sucks. So what else have you got in the comments? Okay, right. I'm really gonna have to go in a minute because I'm really running out of batteries. Um, It'd be a long way for Ukraine to join the EU, though. There are still the Balkans that will have to join earlier. The tension between Kosovo and Serbia a few months ago, how important that is. Yeah, indeed. So there was a kick-off in northern Kosovo because they changed the license plates on the cars, the registration plates on the cars, and they used to be able to have Serbian plates if you were in Kosovo. Now you have to have Kosovan plates, and there was a big kick-off about it. So tensions are still quite high. Similar situation to areas like Nagorno-Karabakh or Northern Ireland, even, where you've got two groups of people living together. One swears allegiance to one place, and one swears allegiance to the other place, but they're all going to try and live together somehow. I think Uganda makes electric buses now. They advertise them to US evangelicals that come to Africa. Do they make them, or do they just get them from Japan or something? There's a lot of Japanese buses around that area in Africa because they're right-hand drive. So they have one of the buses that I took when I was going up through Kenya towards Ethiopia was literally a children's school bus from Japan, which is quite fun. Poland and Hungary are making EU more careful. Yeah, they should be kicked out, or at least have sanctions put on them by the EU. And there needs to be some kind of levels of hey, stop it. Nice to hear the birds singing. That's from Pisa. Yeah, the birds have been tweeting away all morning, which is good. Enjoy the music and wear sunscreen. Thanks, Madak. And Jim Bob for us throwing $5 in there. Good day, mate. Thank you very much. That's for the hat. The QQQ to join the EU is not based on who comes first. Czechia tried since 1980, indeed. What's the weather for the weekend? Hope it stays dry. It's supposed to be dry. It's supposed to be good today. A bit overcast, I think, but generally good. And then maybe a little bit of rain tomorrow, which won't be too bad. Maybe it'll just cool us all down a little bit. The problem in the Serbian area of northern Kosovo was that the Serbs boycotted the election. The Albanians stood and took control. Yeah, that's why you should never boycott elections, guys. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. There have been sanctions. Yeah, it seems to be true. MSM are reporting that Lukashenko has left scared of Wagner. Oh my God. Fantastic. Well, things are developing. Don't forget to press the like button, people. Thanks very much, Kevin. Right, I'm going to go in a moment. So if you want to drop a super chat in, now's the time to do it. And I promise I will spend it on water. I was going to say beer, but I need water. It's so hot today. Got Guns N' Roses later. And we're going to have Slash in for the first time in years, over 20 years, I think. Since the Guns N' Roses lineup split up and we got Buckethead instead, which wasn't quite right. But yeah, I saw them 21 years ago at Leeds. I'll tell you a little story before I go. I was at Leeds Festival with mate Dan, and he worked for the Enemy, and so we had the hospitality wristbands, cool wristbands. And the day after Guns N' Roses, I'm walking through the hospitality field, and this voice behind me, this American woman, says, excuse me, are you Graham? And I turn around and go, yeah. Oh my God, it's Kim Deal. It's Kim Deal from the Pixies and the Breeders. And she said, I hear you've got footage from GNR last night. Can I watch it with you? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I got my video camera out and flip the screen around, rewind the tape, because they took tapes back then. And I sat in the field with Kim Deal watching GNR on my little screen. She's like, that's boss. Thank you. True story. Anyway, right, I'm going. Cheers, Graham. Cheers, chat. Have a good day, everyone. That's from Samu. Welcome to the Jungle is my theme tune. That's Angry Pagan. Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to that. Maybe we'll see an appearance from The Rock. Who knows? He's into his jungle stuff. So thank you very much for watching, and thanks for all the likes and the super chats, and to all my YouTube members and the patrons of the Labour Social channel. Thank you very, very much. Hopefully I'll be back tomorrow for another quick Labour special, morning brew special in the morning. Music's just started. I think that's my cue. Thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.